a 65-year-old man, a 2-year-old child, or this 13-year-old teenager rescued in Hatay. Each story is that of sheer grit, determination, and the will to survive against all odds. According to emergency rescue workers, this 13-year-old teenager was actually smiling when health workers reached him. And they asked him, he had no hope, he had no food, no water, but what made him go on? He said he knew he would be taken out, he would survive because he has something to look forward to. We tell you more in this report.
13-year-old Mustafa was pulled from the rubble of a destroyed building in Antakya more than 228 hours after the deadly earthquake hit southern Turkey and Syria. Another teenager was rescued in Kahramanmaraş after 10 days of being buried under collapsed debris in the epicenter.
There is no other joy than hearing the voice of a survivor. It is nothing that I can explain. There is no other happiness than taking the person out and handing them over to their families. I mean, I wish we could get everyone out without any injuries.
But more than 10 days after, hope for survivors is now dim. It's time to demolish the collapsed concrete and clean the debris. Holding pickaxes and shovels, Turkish miners have joined this operation from day one. On the streets in Hatay province, surrounded by piles of debris from buildings and cars destroyed by one of the worst earthquakes in Turkey's modern history, they still strain their ears for the feeble voice of the survivor.
As miners, we are very used to this kind of pain. We also see demolition in our mines. So this is not an area that we have difficulty in. We can enter the collapsed areas by making fortifications. Here too we have been working hard since day one. Sometimes with 2 or 3 hours of sleep. We get a call at night. Join the task for rescue.
Like in case of each disaster, Turkey now faces the challenge of a possible epidemic outbreak. The province of Hatay is one of the worst hit areas. It now faces the threat of disease outbreaks after water and sanitation infrastructure was severely damaged. On top of that, there are shortages in medical resources and staff after at least 2 hospitals in the region collapsed. Another worst hit area is Adıyaman province. One of its southern villages was evacuated after a large rock split in half when the earthquake hit the area. The tremors made the rock split into 2 parts in the mountainous village. Another split happened on 15th of February, making one part of the rock dangerously lean on local houses.
Our initial expectation from the state is to send somebody to smash this rock to ensure the safety of our homes. Then, once the state recovers, we want them to build us new houses in a safe area. Our other needs such as food and tents have been met. We don't have any problems.
Turkey's Disaster and Emergency Management Authority has confirmed that more than 4,300 aftershocks had hit the disaster zone since the initial massive tremor.
I swear we no longer have a life. Because I'm extremely worried for my children, I send them out of the city. I am staying warm here outdoors by letting wood in a bucket. I sleep outdoors. This is not living really. We are passing our days with bread, soups and meals as part of the aid sent by people. We don't have a life anymore. We are afraid. I have not entered any building so far.
But life goes on and the survivors of this horrific disaster need to heal, rehabilitate and learn to live again beyond all the gloom and doom. Volunteers and Turkish authorities are working hard to help the quake survivors cope with the trauma and beat the post-traumatic stress disorder through counseling and cheerful activities.
Turkey vowed on Sunday to thoroughly investigate anyone thought to be responsible for building collapses due to the country's devastating earthquakes nearly a week ago. The detention of 113 suspects has been ordered and arrests have already begun. This is the moment police detained the developer of one residential complex that collapsed as he prepared to board a plane at Istanbul airport for Montenegro on Friday evening, according to the Anadolu news agency. There was no immediate information on casualties from the 12-story complex in Antakya. Anadolu said the man told prosecutors he didn't know why the complex collapsed and that his Montenegro trip was unrelated. Opponents of Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan have accused his government of not enforcing building regulations and of misspending taxes levied after the last major earthquake to make buildings more quake-resistant. Rescuers were still pulling survivors from rubble in both Turkey and Syria on Sunday, but chances of finding people alive are dwindling. The death toll across both countries has now risen above 28,000 and looked set to keep climbing. Drone footage from the Syrian town of Jindaris shows the scale of the destruction there. The disaster hit hardest in the rebel-held northwest, leaving many homeless for a second time after they were displaced by a decade-old civil war. Those seeking shelter in Turkey are now also facing security concerns. 2 German rescue organisations suspended work there on Saturday, citing reports of clashes. One rescue worker said she had seen looters in the city of Antakya, but that her group couldn't intervene because, quote, most of the looters carry knives. Erdogan has warned that anyone caught stealing will be severely punished. The president has acknowledged problems with the relief effort, but says the situation has been brought under control. He's called for solidarity and condemned what he called negative politicking.